Killing Floor 3 is the next installment in the legendary action-horror series. This intense FPS puts you in the boots of a Nightfall specialist joining forces with up to 5 teammates to battle waves of Zeds, earn dosh, unlock skills, and build the ultimate arsenal. Drop into a variety of treacherous hot zones where you'll have to contain the further spread of the outbreak. Thankfully, you can use the environment to your advantage by activating turrets, fans, and other devastating traps. Civilization 7, as a for X game, has the player oversee the growth of a human civilization from early settlements to an advanced culture. The player uses various units, representing military and civilian units, to explore the map, grow their civilization through additional cities, culture, and technology, gather resources from the geography around their settlements, and defeat threats from foreign civilizations also attempting to grow. The player can win the game through a range of possible victory conditions, ranging from peaceful solutions to full military domination of the world. Assetto Corsa Evo redefines the realism and features of one of the most popular multi-platform driving simulations ever developed. As with its predecessor, Assetto Corsa Evo will include cars from different classes spanning across years of motoring history, from road cars, classics, hypercars, and race cars. The most iconic representation of the automotive and motorsport world. Each vehicle is reproduced through an advanced system that simulates mechanical, electronic, and aerodynamic performance combined with the fidelity of the circuits created using laserscan technology. The first Berserker, Kazan, is a hardcore action RPG based on the Dungeon Fighter Online DNF universe, Nexon's flagship IP with more than 800 million players worldwide. Set 800 years before the events of DNF, the game unfolds on the continent of Arad and explores the untold story of Kazan, the first Berserker. Players will experience Kazan's legendary journey firsthand as they master intricate and engaging combat mechanics and strategic battles that bring his epic tale to life.
Will you help us, Henry?
Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 is an open-world action role-playing game in which the protagonist is controlled from a first-person perspective. Once again, tasks or missions can be handled in different ways. The NPCs and society will react respectively. According to Warhorse Studios, the reactions of society and the game world to the player character PC in turn influence his path. Ultimately, the decisions of the player affect the character development and the life of the PC itself.
Woods lie deep, and the woods are home to summers don't sleep. So sit thee.
Atomfall is an action game played from a first-person perspective. Set in an alternate history in which the 1957 wind-scale fire rendered much of the Lake District, Cumbria, in radioactive fallout. Players can collect various resources and scraps to craft weapons or use firearms to defeat enemies, though ammunitions are scarce in the game. While Atomfall is billed as a survival game, players only need to manage the player character's health and heart rate. combat. Sprinting and kicking enemies will increase the protagonist's heart rate, resulting in darkened vision and muffled hearing. Stealth tactics can also be used, and the game can be completed without killing any enemy. Killing all characters in the game is also an option.
Stop licking.
And then they become a little bit bigger dragons with new abilities.
Split Fiction was specifically designed for split-screen cooperative multiplayer, which means that it must be played with another player through either local or online play. In the game, players assume control of either Zoe or Mio, two authors who both become trapped inside their own stories. The two strangers must work together to escape and overcome numerous challenges along the way, as Mio's science fiction story interweaves with Zoe's fantasy story, putting both characters in grave dangers. The game is an action-adventure video game played from a third-person perspective, requiring players to complete platforming challenges and occasionally combating against hostile enemies.
Play it with your friend online. That's what Hazelight is about. No loot boxes, no microtransactions, and no bullshit. You just get the game.
The way you fight.
Avowed is an action role-playing game that can be played from both first-person and third-person perspectives. Players can use magic, melee weapons, and firearms to defeat enemies. The game features a variety of spells, allowing players to perform feats such as freezing enemies in ice or ensnaring them in an entangle spell. Spells can be used in conjunction with other weapons to create combos, such as using sword to crush through a frozen enemy. Players can quickly switch between multiple setups, including dual pistols, dual wands, a two-handed axe, or a sword and shield combination. The game features several skill trees, which allow players to unlock more powerful abilities as they progress in the game. Weapons can also be individually upgraded. While Avowed is not a full open-world game, the game features several large open zones for players to explore.
What are you gonna do with it?
Now commencing the hunt by order of the guild.
Monster Hunter Wilds is an action role-playing video game played from a third-person perspective. In Wilds, players take the role of a custom hunter character who travels to the Forbidden Lands, an unpopulated landmass filled with monsters, in order to locate a missing expedition party. As with previous games in the series, the player's hunter tracks and fights monsters, either capturing or slaying them, from which they gain rewards in the form of monster parts and other resources. Along with other resources collected in the game world, the player can then craft new armor, weapons, consumables, and other gear which allow them to fight more difficult monsters. Metal Gear Solid Delta. Snake Eater retains the core gameplay mechanics first implemented in Metal Gear Solid 3 and refined from the foundation of previous Metal Gear titles, involving Snake having to be controlled by the player as he traverses a variety of environments both in tropical and industrial settings while evading hostile enemies, traps, and other methods of surveillance that can expose his cover over the course of the game's overarching infiltration mission, all while procuring an assortment of melee weapons, firearms, and gadgetry that aid him while sneaking and confronting threats. Assassin's Creed Shadows is an action-adventure stealth game similar to its predecessors. It is developed on an upgraded version of Anvil, utilizing dynamic lighting and environmental interactions with new enhancements such as breakable props, in addition to allowing players to manipulate shadows and use a grappling hook for parkour. The game's open world, whose size is comparable to that from Assassin's Creed Origins, progresses through seasons, each affecting gameplay, including frozen water and icicles in winter. Long grass and blooming plants in spring. Missions are non-linear, encouraging players to track and eliminate targets freely. In a change from previous games, vantage points will exist in the world but only to help the player scan the environment for points of interest, rather than populating the player's map with objectives marked.
No honor in